Hi, I'm Pamela Ann with Easy Messages, messages that can help you be able to command your world with such precision. You can even put a date on it.
I'm Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, and I wrote the book, Commanding the Power of Thought. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the things that we know, that we love, that we're passionate about, and what we want to do to help you.
And together we are...
Yeah, Soul Science. Welcome to Soul Science.
Welcome to Soul Science. Okay, we're mixing, the science and things of the soul, how to apply it in your daily life. All right, so we have a lot of humor in this at the same time. Can you tell?
All right. So.
Okay, Jeff, jump in. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I think one of the important things that you and I have talked about recently is understanding intent and intention, what the difference of that means and so forth. And as we've had conversations, it takes me back to William Tiller, who years ago did a science project because he was interested in understanding how intention factored into that. And so what he did is he had some water, and they had several locations where they had these sites set up. And the idea was to change the pH factor of the water without putting any kind of chemicals or things in that, and doing it purely by intention. And so they found, I think they had 3 locations they were doing this. And over a period of time, the pH factors began to change. It took a couple of weeks for that to occur, for them to get any kind of movement at all. And then one of the things they found in the intention is that they found some of the data was showing that the pH factor had changed to like 1.7. And what they found is this was an underground facility, a laboratory, that because it was underground, that the data was much higher. Most of the other places were like 1.3 or something in changing the pH factor. But they surmised that there was something that was going on because this was an underground facility, that the Schumann resonance, or the vibration of the Earth, 7.83 hertz, probably had something to do with the fact that the numbers in their intention was higher. But that's another investigation for another time. But I think the point is that we understand that as we put intention out there, what is that for? How do we do that? And so on. That this was an early experiment to help us understand that through the intention, that pH factor changed.
I really love the fact that our bodies have a tremendous amount of water in them, and our bodies are very much affected by this pH balance and just in general. However, our bodies are also loaded with information, just loaded with information. And this information sometimes is really helpful for us to be able to have in our lives, but some of that information actually needs to be removed from us. It would be better for us to remove some of that information and put in what we prefer instead. So I think that'd be great for us to talk about the importance of that, because a lot of times people will be wondering, they're tapping, they're doing all these things to try to feel better and do better in their lives, but they kind of still feel stuck.
And, my friend Bruce Lipton talks often about having the right environment for your cells. So, if we're not getting enough water, or if we're not getting enough trace minerals in our system, or enough protein, or we're eating too much carbohydrates, any nutritionist can begin to explain how you've got to have a balance of these things. And I think in order for intention to really play its role, that we have to become very balanced in what we do and what we take into our bodies and how we are treating our bodies.
Talking about the water in your cells as well, I did an experiment with my grandchildren. Emoto did a lot of work with water and being able to infuse information into water, and how water will be able to respond with this information. And I took a bunch of rice and boiled it all up, and I asked my grandsons, it was the summertime, and it would be great kids to be able to do this when they're out of school, and they can really spend some quality time playing around with this. But I made 3 jars of rice, and I boiled it up, put it in these jars, and we set them in different places. And I said to these grandsons that were very precarious and very rambunctious, and I said, hey, do you think rice has intelligence? Can it think? And they're like, no, of course not. Well, do you think it has feelings? Do you think it can feel? No, of course not. They're like laughing at me like, oh, come on. They call me Nana. I'm from Southern Arizona, so they call me Nana. And so I said, well, let's just see. And so what we did is we put names on each of these jars. And the first one was, I love you. And the next one was, you fool. The last one we put away someplace else, and we just totally ignored it. And so throughout the day, they were supposed to go up to these jars and say with as much passion as possible. Like, can you imagine some grade school boys doing this? They're like, I love you. Yeah. The next one, like, you fool. And then the last one, they're like, we're not even looking, not even going there. That's not going to happen. And shortly, not long after that, the rice started to respond. And the I love you turned this golden, beautiful yellow. The smell was perfectly fine. It wasn't anything sour or anything like that. The one that was you fool started getting these brown spots all through it. And it was starting to like rot and it didn't look so great. But the one that was totally ignored started growing this hairy gray and black fuzzy stuff and just totally rotted. And those boys started looking at that and recognizing, oh my gosh, this is it can be happening to our bodies. And that if we're filled with the feelings of love and appreciation, or giving love and appreciation to others, it literally affects my body, their bodies, and the people around me. And so, it also said that this is some reason why some people act out. They will do anything to get attention than to have the horrible feeling of being ignored. They would rather get any kind of attention than that. And it really brought home the fact that how we think about ourselves, what we speak to ourselves, has an impact on us even.
Yeah, well, exactly. When we look at the subconscious part of our brain, 95% of everything we say, think, and do comes from our subconscious. Only 5% comes from the conscious brain. But what happens, it's kind of like if you hear a song and it takes you way back when, you have feelings and memories about that sort of thing, that when it gets triggered, we have this experience in life, and that experience, we apply some meaning to that experience, and then we add some emotion to that. We call that a cognition. As we activate that cognition over and over, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. But whatever that cognition is gets recorded in our subconscious mind. And so our conscious mind may say, I want to do this. And first of all, it's going to, what is it desire? What is it trying to do? And it's going to go from the conscious mind down into the subconscious and say, yeah, but what's the rule? So the conscious brain may be saying, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. But it goes down into the subconscious, and the rule that we got when we were growing up, or how it got there, it doesn't matter. But maybe the rule is you don't deserve more money. So that's what we broadcast out in the field, and we can't figure out why. Now, there's a way to change that. So when you have an experience, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter, and you put some meaning to that. Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that we give it, and then we apply some emotion to that. And then when that gets triggered, we can actually change from a subconscious belief that isn't working for us to install something that does. So now when that new subconscious belief gets triggered, that's the one that's going to fire. And those beliefs are what direct our behavior. So it's kind of good to understand there is a mechanism, a biological mechanism that happens when that comes together, gets bound together with a neurotransmitter that we call acetylcholine, and so
Right.
we can change that with a second burst of acetylcholine, and so how we talk to ourselves makes a big difference. Those are the things that get recorded. How other people talk to us, is going to get recorded in that subconscious, and we begin to develop our perception of who we are. Whether we
Yeah.
are smart, whether we're dumb, whether we are liked or not liked, but that's where a lot of that perception comes from these experiences. Like, why does one person like Coca-Cola and another person likes Pepsi? Because they've had experiences and they've recorded that cognition. Oh, well, I like Coke better than I do like Pepsi, or I like Pepsi better than I like Coke. Those perceptions get down in there. So it's important that we understand how the mechanism works so that we can look at ourselves and say, where's my life going? What am I doing? How do I want to get there? What's going on now, and recognize and own the things that maybe aren't working for us that somebody else has taught us. When people get in a quarrel or a misunderstanding, it's usually, I want you to behave a certain way so I can feel good. Well, that's not the way it works. I have to feel good before that happens, right?
Right. Well, you're drawing to you um, the people that will reinforce to you your belief systems about you.
Right. They'll
So
mirror those right back to you.
that's what a lot of people do not understand is why does this keep happening over and over and over? This is not what I prefer, but that's what you were focused on. So a lot of people will wonder, well, why are things not changing? Why are things not changing? And I literally do a type of meditation, and I call it deliberate meditation. It's on my website, PamelaAnnieZell.com. It's under many meditations, and you can do it in 6 breaths. I call it meditating at a stoplight. And we can cover this at another time. But basically, I gather up everything in one breath of what is anything that's distracting or causing me to have any unbalance in my body. I woke up one morning and had a serious pain in my jaw. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And I don't have to figure out where it came from. All I had to do was just gather it up in one breath and release it. And because my body has been trained in this, it instantly was released. And I've had brain tumors and gone blind and everything else because I was learning about this to understand the people I work with. But it didn't mean I had to keep it. It just meant I was learning about it. The scriptures say, and it came to pass. And that's what I believe in. It came to pass. It didn't come to stay. So,
yeah. I just say a lot of people's experience is they may understand the words of that, but actually putting it into practice is a different thing, right?
Right. And that's what I put into practice. And that's why I'm sharing it. And because what happens is if you are releasing something, hey, that's great. The tapping and all that kind of stuff, it's great. But for goodness sakes, put something back in that you prefer instead, because our bodies are not like these like empty cells and stuff. They're filled with information. And once you wash this out, bring something in to take its place, other than if you don't do that, the other will come back in. It will slide back in because we're creatures of habit. So put in what you prefer instead and let it anchor into those cells and become you.
Right.
It's life altering. And then connect with those that created you and team with them so that you can be able to have them with you. And you were saying earlier that a lot of it is subconscious, but actually you can wake up. It's called the awakening, the great awakening. You can wake up and be very super conscious of what's going on, and you're commanding and allowing everything to just be like harmoniously organized to flow and have this wonderful balance in your life. And it is such a wonderful way to live.
One of the studies that I was reading not too long ago and talking about chaos in our life and so forth, and they had done some studies and understanding chaos. So when chaos, when we look at the vibration, and if we're having a higher vibration, and I use this example a lot, a person that worries a lot, and can they go from worry to being exuberant to having love, joy? Yeah, they can go there, but they can't stay there because they haven't conditioned their brain to vibrate at that higher level. So they can go there, but they cannot sustain it. And so part of this is about, you know, what, not only what are we feeding ourselves, but what are we doing on a daily basis in order to get ourselves there. I mean, you talk often about creating intention when you first get up, and maybe you could kind of explain a little bit about that.
Well, I set my intentions as before I ever get out of bed. I set my intentions. I do special breathing, and we can cover it more in depth in another program. But I set my intentions. I do my breathing and releasing, and I put in what I prefer instead, and I go into a meditation, and literally it's just fast. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm down, and then I start connecting with the divine, and I start saying what I'd love to see happen that day, and then I get quiet and I say, and what would you like to teach me? How to be successful in that day. And they literally say to me, we've got your back. This is taken care of. It's dialed in for you. Enjoy your day.
Well, and we have to trust that when it's coming into us, because otherwise that subconscious thing is going to, oh, well, this isn't real, you know, and blah, 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 and go right back to where it was in the worry part of this, instead of saying, no, I live at this higher vibration. It's better. Yeah. It feels better. You know, if it's not feeling good, then you got to be asking yourself, why? What's wrong here? Where am I at on the scale of emotions?
It feels wonderful. And I mean, not just that, I'll be 70 in less than a year. I feel better than I felt in my entire life right now.
Yeah.
My entire life. I am rippling with muscles, and I have zero pain in my body. I've overcome tremendous things. But it's because, why? Because I am devoted to making sure I'm taking care of my vessel. She's the only vessel I have.
Right.
But if I take care of me, then I can be able to, at the beginning of the day, then I can be open and just dive in and enjoy being in the world and being with other people. And Jeff, you know this, I can go to somebody and he can be having some issues and stuff and starting to complain and stuff, which I don't listen to, because I'm not going to create that for them or for me, because that's not really being a good friend by being a sounding board like that. But I can say to them, you don't meditate. And they'll say, no. Yeah. And I said, well, it's obvious, because you're absolutely feeling miserable. So it is that practice that, become proficient at that, become to where you know their voice, you know their feelings, you know how it feels. And I carry that throughout my day. I have conversations throughout the day, and people will say to me, did they tell you this? Because I just was thinking about this. But you become so connected with yourself, but with everybody else, that it's just seamless. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, because traveling around the world, and I did over 4,000 brain maps on people who are advanced meditators. The one thing I learned is most people don't know how to meditate. And two, they don't understand what's going on in their brain. So they're trying to quiet it. They can't do that. So it's like, I don't meditate. I can't meditate. And I hear that a lot with people when I talk to them, you know, online or in person. And they're saying, oh, I don't meditate. So when I ask the question, you know, do you meditate? Understanding the power of that meditation and so forth, and what that really being able to direct that power, that energy within our brain and our body, and whatever it is we want to do with that. And they say, oh, no, I can't meditate. And so their mind is so busy with all of these distractions. Those distractions begin to pull that energy down from a high vibration down to a lower vibration of anger, frustration, overwhelm. And that's where they live most of their life.
Right. And it's sad to see that, but I don't get focused on that. Right. I'm not on that committee. And none of us came here to fix or change or to heal anybody. We came to interact with people, to learn, to grow, and get experience. I trust that each of us has an ability to tap into that divine source. And I am not that divine source, but I know how to share that information with how they can tap into that divine source if they'd like, and have these truly miraculous. I live a life filled with miracles on a regular basis, and those miracles are literally documented.
I know you shared a lot of those with me. And so I think it is an important point here to understand that anybody can do this. You know, first of all, you have to get rid of some of the old garbage there
Yeah.
and not give credence to the things that people are saying. What if it's bringing your vibration down, or, you know, where do you want to live? What is it you want to think about? Where do you want to go? So going back to this issue of intention, and if I could share an intention story real quick here, that years ago, Lynn McTaggart, who wrote a book, The Field and the Bond, and I'm a very big fan of her work. And we had met in Hawaii. And so then we decided we were going to do an intention experiment. And so we did that. We set it all up where we had about, I think it was 810 or 820 people in the audience that had tuned into this, you know, virtual tuning. So we did a brain map on an individual who was a veteran, a military veteran, and he had been through 2 tours in Afghanistan and suffering from PTSD. And so we could see that in the brain map in the 13, 14, and 15 hertz, where it was, you know, anywhere from 2 to 3.5 standard deviations out of norm. So it was not functioning properly, couldn't sleep, kept having all these recurring memories. And so this intention experiment was to get everybody to focus their intention. So we had him wired up in another room, and so that we could see this during the process, had the brain cap on and so forth. And so I was able, and Lynn McTaggart was able to give some instruction to the people who were part of this intention experiment, you know, of what it is they needed to do. So on the brain map, we wanted to see the stuff that was yellow, orange, and red in 13, 14, and 15 hertz. We wanted that to turn green. Green meant it was in a normal range. And so in a matter of about 10 minutes and watching this happen, we were able to see that change from yellow, orange, and red and go to green. Now, the after story of this is because I knew this guy and we were friends, that he decided he wanted to go down to Panama. And so he was sleeping better, he was feeling better, he was more coherent in what was happening in his life. And so he went down to Panama and he met this gal down there who was like a supervisor of a bunch of attorneys, and they fell in love. And so they decided they were going to get married, and he came back here, and I got to meet her. You know, just a very lovely person. And so they got married, and now they have 2 children, and they're living in Panama. And he no longer has any issues with PTSD. Now, was that mind over matter, or was this the intention, the power of the intention of a bunch of people knowing how to focus that attention and what it is to do when they're focusing that? And I think that's the issue here. Not the magic, not the fact that the portal was open, not the fact that he had a miraculous experience, but it is the power of intention. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think it is hand in glove with one another.
Yeah.
Because unless the law is, I am not allowed to teach anybody anything until they ask. And because they will not be open to receive it. So people can be sending the most wonderful things, wonderful things, wonderful things, but he was open to receive.
You're
and so
absolutely right.
he allowed himself to become in a harmonious relationship with these people and could feel their love. That love is the power that heals. It's
Right.
that love. But it's like faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
You can have all the faith, say, oh, I have faith. But unless you open up and activate it, you can't receive the blessing of it. And he chose to receive the blessing. He felt like he had suffered enough, and suffering is totally optional. And you decide how long or how short, or if you'd like to suffer at all. But I really do feel like they all became one with him, but he allowed it.
I think that's a very, very important point with all of this. What are we allowing in our own life? Or are we living life on autopilot?
Yeah.
And just thinking, oh, well, if I hope and pray enough, that it's going to change. But what I hear you saying is just hoping and praying isn't going to do it.
No, you have to believe, because if you're just having hope, it has to go beyond that. And for me, I no longer live like with faith, I live with sheer knowledge because of the years of practice that I've had with having this relationship that I've had. I absolutely know that they are with me, that they have my back. It's like somebody calling you on your phone and you go to answer the phone and you don't have caller ID, but you hear one word from that person and you know who that person is. Why? Because you know their voice over the years that you've been able to visit on the phone with one another. And that's how you get with these kind of relationships, is that your trust is implicit, that you can lean on them because you know that, and not really anything or anyone else in this world, because they will have you in the palm of their hand. So you said something about autopilot, and it reminded me of you're a pilot,
Right.
and yeah. And a lot of times people will say, well, how can I stay awake? Because I keep falling asleep on the job of trying to stay awake. And it's just, you set your phone for every half an hour with just a little beat, a little ping on it or something to remind you, and to ask yourself, how am I feeling now? Because your feelings are your perfect guide, and they're going to drive you to be able to receive what you desire. And as a pilot, you know that planes will kind of go in and out of course, and you're constantly making these little course adjustments. But eventually you're going to reach your destination. So if those are those little course adjustments throughout your day, how am I feeling now? And you just scan your body. Am I feeling joy or happiness? Am I filled with fear or worry or angst or doubt or anger? And then you allow yourself to shift gently to what you prefer instead. And if you keep doing that, your life is going to become more and more amazing. Amazing.
And that's a good analogy, the whole pilot thing, that where am I right now? And to set that timer, because I think it's very easy throughout the day to get caught up in the chaos, the distraction, the things that you have to get done, your laundry list, and, got to get groceries, got to go to the laundry, got to do all these things, and forget about where am I in the moment, and we really only have the moment. We can't go to the future. We can't go to the past. We only have this moment right now. And so I think that's a good reminder there for us to take that moment, and you set the time, whether it's every half hour, every 15 minutes, but to stop and be aware. How am I feeling? What am I doing? Am I vibrating the way that I want to? Am I feeling good, or am I feeling off for some particular reason?
You don't have to figure out any of it as far as like, why am I feeling awkward? Just shift your feelings. Your feelings are your perfect guide. And a lot of people think, well, I've got to, by how I'm thinking, I'm going to be sending out this information and that's how I'm going to get it back. Well, actually, you're sending out from every cell of your body. It isn't just your noggin. It's every cell in your body. When I'm commanding, is sending out what I desire. And then it resonates, and through the laws of attraction, through my feelings, my passionate feelings, and it can be negative or positive. So I'm very aware of how am I feeling. I can draw it in, and I can draw it in almost instantly. Like I was thinking, hey, I'd like to have an office. So I woke up one morning and thought, I think I'd like to have a downtown office because I'm building a retreat center up in the mountains, and it'd be easier for some of the clients to be able to meet me downtown instead of driving up into the mountains. Less than 2 hours later, my husband calls me and says, hey, baby, by the way, I thought I'd let you know I just rented you an office downtown Tucson.
That's amazing. I mean, that just shows the power of what's going on. And you've shared so many amazing stories with me. And I really look forward of you sharing a lot of those stories with people in the audience here, and understanding, that, and I've known Pamela for such a long time, she's not making this stuff up. This is real stuff. You may think, well, how does that possibly happen?
I'm in the office. Hello.
Yeah. But I think it's just part of the journey that we are on together as we look and we are trying to understand what is soul science. What is that all about? What are some of these universal laws, and how do we apply them in our daily life and so forth? And so I really appreciate who you are and the gifts that you have and the stories, the experiences that you've been able to communicate with each and every one of us as we explore this entire aspect of soul science.
Well, I love you, bro. I'm so glad that you decided to take this adventure with me because it's fun. And, there was a time in my life where I forgot how to laugh. And I was promised that my mouth would be filled with laughter. And it definitely is now. I know how to laugh again.
Yeah.
And but it was important for me to go through that so I would understand how other people feel. It's so important to know your people, to understand and have compassion and understanding and experience to be able to say, you know what, I've been there. I do get it, but I don't dwell on it. I move forward.
Yeah.
Hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. And join us next time for another segment of Soul Science. So have a good day.
Bye.
If you find this information uplifting and encouraging, share it with others. It might be precisely what they're looking for. And consider pressing that subscribe button below so that you will always be included in these inspiring podcasts that have been especially created for you so that you will know how to be able to rapidly apply these scientific laws that are also eternal laws and be able to command your will with such precision that you can put a date on it.